So, have you ever asked yourself, what happens when growth stops feeling good? What happens when self growth starts to make me a stranger to myself? Ask yourself, how do I feel right now on my growing journey? There has been this process or this understanding when it comes to the healing journey or what it means to grow as a person. And I myself, as a coach, as somebody who prioritizes growth and efficacy, self-improvement, personal development, sometimes we fail to realize that there needs to be a balance. Social media, self-comparison to other things and people, societal standards in terms of what makes us successful, keeps us on this perpetual wheel of self-improvement. A lot of times this self-improvement pulls us further away from what actually feels good and what's actually necessary for us. And you'll know that because you may start to experience a certain level of burnout, fatigue, apathy, even resentment. I was having a conversation with someone recently, and there was this concept of resentment for other people who may, for example, may not have had to work as hard to get what they have. You see that and it bothers you, right? You become resentful of that person or someone who is always in need of help to some capacity. You may lack patience for that individual. The reason why is because you may never have had the opportunity to be supported, the opportunity to be incompetent, okay? The opportunity to be taken care of, all right? And to see someone else exist in that so naturally um, may bother you. A lot of times, this idea of self growth can develop a very interesting emotional grudge, if you will, with ourselves, with the practice, with the process. We think that in order for me to have a happier life, I have to be constantly working at it. You see on social media, CEOs get up at 3 in the morning and they don't go to sleep until 3 the next morning, and they're always working. They don't sleep, they don't do this. And it can become confusing in terms of, well, I have to do that for me to be successful because that's how they became successful. That's the formula. You have that mindset. You start to feel a little bit confused and sometimes even bitter because it's like all of this to get these things. And now that I have these things, I'm still not happy because I feel like I got to continue to sustain those things. When we are in the process of growth, it's important to understand sometimes the reason for growth is to rest. Your reason for healing is so you can rest. Stimulated by things, you are not constantly chasing the wrong things. You are not in unhealthy relationship dynamics with yourself or others, right? But you learn to have a happy life. But see, in our society and also within ourselves, we think that we are not allowed to be happy, even though we are striving for this ethereal happiness. How do I define success these days? Is it similar to how I've defined success in the past? Okay, or is it very different? When you are going through your growing journey, sometimes it's important to really recognize, well, what am I growing into? Am I becoming a little bit more reclusive, more isolated? Do I have better boundaries? Do I have a healthier system in place? Or does it just feel like I'm constantly under the thumb? Okay, and there's a clock that's always ticking. And if I'm not doing enough in this moment, then I'm failing. Growing and healing and, reading these self-help books and going to therapy and doing all of that starts to become this thing that feels more like an obligation versus something that is actually taking care of you. Then it's important for you to stop and ask yourself, well, what am I doing this for? Or who am I doing this for? Growth is meant to create a healthier space for you to continue to thrive. So if you're on this process, you're on this pursuit, it's so crucial to just acknowledge, am I happy right now? Am I at peace right now? Is my grind leading to my growth, or is my grind constantly keeping me in this space of despair? And sometimes we need to understand we will work so hard to be such a better person that we will work ourselves out of situations that may actually be the best for us. There will be no element of success that will ever be worth you isolating yourself from relationships, from hobbies, from anything that is good for you. If success requires you to cut off the things that are the healthiest for you, then that's probably not success. Who's around when you're successful? What does that look like? All right. Are they people you don't know? Are they people that you've been growing with? Okay. Are you by yourself? We have to recognize when we are growing in a healthy way versus outgrowing everything that we need to be sustained. In society, we do have this praise for hyper individualism and obsessive thinking or obsessive behavior, right? Somebody who just goes balls to the wall for what it is that they desire and what they seek. But sometimes we don't always see the results emotionally of what that person went through and what they had to sacrifice to get there. It is more than okay and more than important for you to just simply take stock of how you are feeling in this moment of your growth journey. Do I feel accomplished, or do I still feel lost? Do I feel like I now have to work harder, or do I feel like I've been able to ease off since then? How appreciative of myself am I in this moment in life? Or do I still feel like there's work to be done before I can even get there? See, a lot of times people are in this process of thinking that if I get to this thing, if I accomplish this thing, then I'll be lovable by myself and others. I'll be of value by myself and others. Okay, I'll be appreciated by myself and others. But you have to remember, if you are not appreciating the person right now, none of these things will make sense, right? They'll just be a part of the process. You'll be chasing a phantom level of success, a phantom level of contentment. What does my growing journey consist of currently? Okay. Ask yourself, how often do I practice moderation? Or do I have a pendulum swing where I am excessive in a certain area of life and I can stand to balance myself out? Sometimes you are not growing, you're actually hindering your growth because you're not giving yourself the opportunity for rest and for breathing, for appreciation, for recognition, or just leaving yourself. If your goal is to become somebody else, then you will continue to reject yourself along the way and you will never feel at peace about it. So pay attention to when you are starting to become resentful. Pay attention to when you are starting to become unenthused. Pay attention to when you stop being excited about the things that usually were your go-to. Okay, think of the hobbies that you have in life. Think of how important they are to you or how important they were to you. If they're no longer there, ask yourself what's changed. You're still allowed to have fun throughout your life. Success does not require punishment. Success does not require isolation. Success may require solitude, but isolation is a punishment. Solitude just means I have the opportunity to regroup, but I still have access to my resources, including people and community, when I'm ready. So as you're pursuing your growth journey, you notice that you're becoming more isolated. Ask yourself, why is that? Because that is not the purpose of growing. If you're working through these trauma aspects, it's okay to take a break because that can be exhausting. There's a lot you might have to revisit and reconfigure. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And take flight.